Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL. Today we've got a full slate of updates to break down for you. This is the 136th episode of Hawks Latest presented by FanArt, so hopefully you guys have been enjoying the ride. I know I have, but like I said, we've got a whole lot to break down for you guys today. Happy late Thanksgiving. That was yesterday. I hope you guys had a great day. Sorry there was no video. Unfortunately, couldn't, get that in with all the other things that were going on yesterday. But yeah, we're back and we have a lot to cover. So we're going to break down Dyson Daniels and his recent shooting struggles, but kind of some encouragement there. And then after that, we're going to take a look at why the Milwaukee Bucks, of all teams, are unexpectedly helping Atlanta's draft future. We've done a lot of talk about the New Orleans Pelicans and how they are awful and how they could, give Atlanta a shot at a top pick. But the Bucks are another one of those teams that we need to closely track. We didn't expect them to be as bad as the Pelicans, but they have had a really bad stretch of games that we have to cover on this channel. And then we're going to dive right in after that. We're going to talk about a specific player in the draft who Atlanta is currently projected to select. There was a recent mock draft that came out that has Atlanta selecting this guy at a top pick. I'm not going to say what pick it is yet, but we will break that down later in the episode. And then at the very end, we are going to finish with a full preview of tonight's matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Hawks are back in action tonight against the Cavs, so a very good team out in the Eastern Conference, so definitely a big matchup tonight. So there's a lot going on, so let's waste no more time in the intro and go ahead and start with one of the biggest storylines surrounding the Hawks right now. And there seriously is a whole lot surrounding the Hawks right now, but something that has been kind of getting us focused in particular is the sudden decline in the perimeter shot of Dyson Daniels, because while that's never been like a huge part of his game, he definitely added a little bit of a shooting bag to his game last year. And so far this season, it has not been good, at least up until these last few games. So he experienced that full breakout last year, and I'm sure all of you know good and well what I'm talking about. He fully became a cornerstone in the Hawks starting lineup thanks to his elite on-ball defense, his consistent playmaking, and ability to handle pressure situations on both ends of the floor. I mean, when he was brought into Atlanta, it wasn't even a sure thing that he would start, but head coach Quinn Snyder took a gamble and was like, I'm going to put him in the starting lineup next to Trae Young immediately. And so that obviously came with some growing pains, but over the course of the year, Dyson had an incredible year, which ended up giving him the most improved player. I mean, he genuinely, there's not more, you can't really describe it as anything other than just a true breakout on both ends of the floor, because we knew he was a great defender, but we didn't know he was going to be the best defender in the NBA, which, he should have won Defensive Player of the Year, but I digress. Atlanta's, defensive identity, which is one of the best we've seen from the franchise in a really long time. It's in large part due to Dyson's presence. I mean, he fully changed the culture here, as I'm sure you all know. I mean, this is kind of just me kind of giving some context to people who may be unaware, but I know most of y'all are probably aware of how much Dyson has really just kind of changed the culture here, and it's led to Atlanta bringing in some more defenders and even some more shooters around him, because they're trying to fit the skill sets of all these young guys in the core, and Dyson Daniels is one of them, no doubt. So I mean, his numbers told the story last year. Last year he averaged 14 points, 5.9 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 3 steals per game. I mean, just like unheard of stuff on the defensive end. But the 14.1 points is what really stands out, because his scoring average from the year prior, and this is really why he won Most Improved Player, it went up by nearly 9 full points from the previous year, which is what earned him the 2025 Most Improved Player award, which is an awesome award to add to the resume, because along with that, he brought home an all defensive first team. So, and he's still very young. So, I mean, this is a guy, it's clear to see why he's a franchise cornerstone. But, you take everything in the breakout, you take his scoring averages going up, you take his defense, all that. And what really stands out, really from everything, is his growth as a perimeter shooter. Last year, he hit 34% from deep on over 3 attempts per game, which, while that doesn't sound like anything too crazy, that's not amazing shooting. That's not particularly super high volume, but that forced defenses to play him honestly, really for the first time in his young career. Before that, they kind of considered him a non-factor on the offensive end, but then he showed in Atlanta that he was going to take threes at a pretty decent volume and hit them at a solid rate. And then they had to defend him up close on the perimeter, which led to open looks for really everyone else. Which it was great, it was awesome, and so it gave Atlanta fans very high expectations for him heading into this season. You fast forward to this season, and it has, for Dyson Daniels specifically from the outside, it hasn't been good. His outside shot has completely evaporated. Daniels is now shooting a career low 19.2% from three, and he's only attempting around one outside shot per game. Neither of which are ideal. This is not what Atlanta envisioned. This is not something that I expected whatsoever. This regression from outside has made him much easier to guard in like a late game situation. I mean, and really just throughout the entire game, which has limited Atlanta offensively in certain situations. I mean, defenders are sagging off of him, and oftentimes they're putting their big man, they're putting their center, their slow, definitely not agile big men on Dyson Daniels, because he's not someone who's had a great offensive start to the year. So, I mean, Atlanta has so many other weapons offensively that, they kind of can just ignore Dyson because, oftentimes this year, and this has kind of been a thing for his career and maybe even last year as well. I mean, when he drives, it's not a sure thing that he's going to knock down that floater or even that layup that he gets. He's a very inconsistent offensive player and definitely has been this year. It has been a very interesting development, and it has not been a good thing for Atlanta. His confidence from the outside has clearly dipped, and there's no doubt about that. Before the last two games, Daniels went 8 straight outings without hitting a single three, despite playing significant starter minutes, 28 to 38 minutes a night, like every single night. I mean, this is a guy that Quinn Snyder relies on, and for good reason. You can't leave him off the court for too long because he once again, the best perimeter defender in the world, as voted on by general managers across the NBA. So, I mean, he's legit. This is a guy that is very good, and so but being a complete negative on the offensive end for a decent chunk of the season, that can't happen. Nothing that seriously cannot happen. But it is not all doom and gloom because recent trends have shown that Hawks fans should be a little bit encouraged by Daniels' shooting. He has now made a three in each of his last 2 games. So he's starting to get it together. He's starting to kind of pull the string, get everything back in shape and back to where Hawks fans know it can be. He's still just, over his last 2 games, from outside specifically, he's still just 2 for 7, which, that's not amazing percentages. That's not very good. But he has attempted 7 threes in the last 2 games. The important thing is that he's shooting them again. The volume is coming back, and I don't expect the volume to go anywhere because confidence is a huge thing. I mean, Quinn Snyder still continuing to be like, okay, keep letting it fly. Even in the midst of him shooting 19% from deep, that's going to do otherworldly stuff for his confidence. And he's just going to keep letting it fly, and the percentages are just going to keep increasing as the season goes on. Rhythm matters along with confidence, and Daniels is not ever going to be someone who is going to stay cold forever just because, he's a very, very high IQ basketball player, and there's no way he can be a complete negative on the offensive end. And his shot form is so pure. He has such a wide base, and he really gets into his form, and that's not something that's ever going to be too bad of a 3-point shot. It's just, it was a bad start to the season. So, the last 2 makes over the last 2 games seem a little bit minor, and they definitely are for the average NBA player, but for a developing 2-way guard in a shooting slump, they could absolutely be the spark he needs. His basketball IQ, like I said, is way too advanced, and his defensive value is way too high for him to not always be a positive contributor. So my expectation, just purely my opinion, is that the Hawks are going to gradually increase Daniels' offensive workload as the season progresses. We've already seen it in the past 2 games. He had 22 points the other night, and then the next night he had 11, but he still contributed a whole lot on both ends of the floor. So I think they're going to try to get him to shoot that ball a little bit more and bring those scoring averages and shooting percentages up. They're going to encourage more spot ups, kind of give him the freedom to shoot through this slump and fully get himself out of it. His 3-ball probably won't return to last season's level overnight, but it will eventually. Just give it some time. Be patient with the young man. It will come back, and when it does, the Hawks' backcourt balance improves instantly, and hopefully, he can fully get it back by the time Trae Young comes back, because that can be one of the best backcourts in the entire NBA. So, next up, let's go ahead and start talking about some draft capital, because there's nothing more that y'all want to hear right now, in November, than the 2026 NBA draft, which is like a long time away. It's gonna be next June. We definitely got some time for that. After this whole season, we got a lot of basketball left to play this season. But nonetheless, the Hawks' long-term future is quietly becoming one of the most fascinating situations in the entire NBA. So as we all know, we've been tracking the Pelicans pick on this channel. And we know good and well that they have started 2-15. One of their losses actually came to the Atlanta Hawks. That was a win that the Hawks got, pretty handily. But so like I said, like I was about to talk about. I mean, the Pelicans, the Hawks have their unprotected first-round pick. It's it's firmly on track for a lottery odds if it was just belonging to the Pelicans, and they don't just own the Pelicans pick. And that is kind of where these things switch up a little bit. Because we haven't really talked about this a whole lot on the channel. But that Pelicans pick is also, the most favorable between New Orleans and Milwaukee. So, whoever is worse between the Pelicans and the Milwaukee Bucks, the Hawks will get their pick, whichever pick is higher in the draft. So, while we didn't expect the Bucks to be as bad as the Pelicans, they have been playing some pretty awful basketball. Putting it simply, the Bucks have seriously just fallen apart. Giannis is playing amazing. He's been playing some great basketball as of late and really just all season. Some of the best of his career, if we're being honest, just considering his supporting cast and everything. But they have now lost 5 straight basketball games, and they seriously are kind of free-falling towards the lottery, towards like a high pick in the lottery. And guess what? If that one is worse than the Pelicans by the end of the season, and why I say by the end of the season, because we got a whole lot of basketball left to play. We really can't tell who's going to be worse at this point in the season, and who knows, maybe even like Giannis requests out, because that has been a thing that's been long rumored really this whole off season, but now into this season, like this is still a possibility. If that were to happen, they're going to free fall even more because, outside of Giannis, this is one of the worst rosters in the NBA. If you put your finger over Giannis, like looking at their roster, that might be the worst in the NBA. And then they obviously lost Damian Lillard in the offseason, so that was kind of his co-star. He doesn't have one anymore. The major offseason acquisition, which was Miles Turner, the guy that they signed over from the Indiana Pacers, which was one of the most shocking moves of the offseason, if I'm being completely honest. But he has not been playing. He's been underperforming. He had a strong postseason with the Indiana Pacers, but just leaving right after, and then going to Milwaukee. He has not really played too well in Milwaukee. This is not a situation of a guy who just needed a fresh start. Could kind of get his game together a little bit. Well, I don't even want to say together because he's never been bad, but he hasn't really fixed any of his shortcomings, whether that's on the defensive end or just moving around the perimeter or being a real force inside, like a real intimidating force inside, because he really never has. And so that's kind of kept up in Milwaukee and has limited them. He has been underwhelming if we're considering what was kind of expected out of him to be Giannis's front court partner. But it's not looking very good in Milwaukee right now, and I kind of feel bad because they just won the championship. It was quite some time ago, but it still technically was a few years ago. They're still coming off of that high, and it's not a good situation out there. It's probably going to end up with Giannis requesting a trade, and then them landing like a top 5 pick this summer, and then Atlanta getting it. That's a real possibility, and so just having the freedom, kind of the flexibility to just sit back and relax while we try to compete in the Eastern Conference, we just know good and well that we are going to get a top pick, whether that comes from the Pelicans or the Bucks. It's exciting. It's relieving. All those years that Atlanta tanked, just having to endure some awful basketball for 82 straight games, and then but then in the back of your mind you're like, okay, well this is going to land us a top pick. And it did for several seasons, but now we can still have the flexibility of being like, yeah, we're going to land a top pick, but we have something to watch for. We actually have a lot to watch for because the Hawks are still trying to contend in the Eastern Conference. So this Bucks team looks like a team who seriously could finish in the bottom 10 if everything kind of falls apart like it is right now. If you combine that with the Pelicans meltdown, the Hawks suddenly look like strong contenders for a top 3 pick in a loaded 2026 draft class. So this is a huge development for Atlanta's rebuild while competing strategy, like I said. And speaking of the draft, let's go ahead and switch the topic to a specific player. We said we weren't going to talk about specific draft players and specific targets really until later in the season, and maybe even once the off season starts. But these recent mock drafts have just been so interesting. And it's really interesting to keep up with because I'm really excited for the chance to be able to have a top selection in this draft because, man, it is a loaded draft class. And this guy's also relevant to talk about because he kind of had a great game yesterday. He had like 35 points and 9 rebounds, I think. I mean, he's a freshman in college. I mean, this guy is insane. But a new mock draft from Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report projects the Hawks taking 2 significant talents because don't forget, the Hawks actually have their own pick. It is a swap with the Spurs, but nonetheless, at minimum, Atlanta will be having 2 picks in this upcoming draft. Well, I can't even really say upcoming because we got literally the whole NBA season to play. But nonetheless, in this mock draft, Atlanta has the number 2 pick from the New Orleans Pelicans. It was the Pelicans this time, not the Bucks. That could be the Bucks. Relating it to the last segment, it could be the Bucks by the end of the season. But right now, it is the Pelicans who are one of the worst teams in the NBA. And with that pick, Jonathan Wasserman is projecting Atlanta to select Cameron Boozer, the 6'9", 250-pound forward from Duke. The guy that is the son of the famous Boozer, and he has played with maturity beyond his years. I don't know why I just forgot Carlos Boozer's name, but I was in my head. I was like, I don't want to like completely mess it up. I was about to say Caden Boozer, but that is the brother of Cam Boozer. There's a lot of Boozers, but this guy is probably going to be the best one to ever play. But yeah, I mean, he does not look like a freshman out there. He has taken college basketball by storm. He's probably, depending on how long Darren Peterson is hurt at Kansas, because he is hurt right now, Boozer could find himself being the number 1 pick, but right now he is projected at number 2, and Atlanta landing him at 2 would be an absolute steal. I mean, his IQ, his passing vision for a forward, and his physical strength really just kind of make him one of the safest high-end prospects in this class, and really in a long time. This is a guy who would, if he was drafted last year, he would go number 1 ahead of Cooper Flagg. Like, that's the thing. In this draft class, like Cooper Flagg, who is an amazing prospect, he'd probably go 3 or 4, if we're being completely honest. I mean, this draft class, it's top heavy, but it's absolutely loaded. In that top 5, you really can't go wrong with any of the prospects that you select. He's drawn so many comparisons. I mean, not limited to like Paulo Banchero. I've seen a lot. I've seen Jalen Johnson that he's been compared to, kind of like a more polished Jalen Johnson coming into the NBA. That would be a great outcome. I mean, with the guy he selected number 2, he's been compared to so many greats and so many awesome players in the league. It's going to be hard for him to fail. Scouts love his processing speed on offense and just the way he has been able to affect the game defensively and just be an incredible force on the offensive end. I mean, like I said, it's all about the maturity. It's all about how he's looked way older than he is, just in terms of on the court, and just the physicality he's played with, his shooting ability. I mean, he's such a versatile prospect, and that is what is kind of separating this big 3, like the Peterson, the Debansa, and the Boozers of the world. It's their versatility. It's just the you can put them like really anywhere and they can be effective. I mean, if you look at Boozer against like the weaker opponents that they have played this season, he continues to impact winning and his versatility and his decision making. And I mean, he against like the top programs, he's had some finishing issues, but it hasn't been anything crazy. He's still going through kind of these growing pains at that a 19-year-old forward would do. Is he 18 or 19? I don't know. I'm going to have to fact check myself on that. But nonetheless, he's one of 18 or 19, and he's playing really, really good in college basketball. And so, not to talk about this one for too long, but Wasserman also has the Hawks having the 23rd pick, which is that swap with the Spurs. Whichever pick is better between the Spurs and the Hawks, the Spurs can select. But so then this would technically, I guess, be the Spurs pick. But Wasserman has the Hawks selecting Ade Mara, a 7'3" center. I'm going to have to look at like more videos and stuff and see if I butchered that name. But nonetheless, he is a 7'3" center from Michigan, who is known for his all-around ability, like his elite passing and his shot blocking instincts and rebounding. His play style is reminiscent of several legends. His playmaking ability is what really stands out, though, and he would be a great fit alongside a lot of this core. I mean, we have kind of made it known, like with the Okongwu and Porzingis, and really just the players that we've drafted, like the Newell and even the Mo Gay. they value versatility and they value playmaking in the front court, especially from their center. So, I mean, this would be kind of ideal for Atlanta. I mean, if you land this whole draft, really, this would kind of be a dream scenario. I mean, if you land a franchise level talent in a Cam Boozer, and then you add like a skilled but project kind of developmental center in Mara, and you combine that with the progress we've already seen from the young core, like how Jalen Johnson has rise to stardom, and Yeka Kongu has become one of the most underrated 3-point shooters in the league, and also a really effective center who's averaging over 16 points a game right now. He's been incredible. And then Dyson Daniels, who while still growing as the offensive player that we know he can be and potentially be in the future, one of the best defenders in the NBA, and Zachary Rizichet, who's struggling right now, but we know what he can do. One of the most dangerous shooters in the league once he gets going. Mo Gay, who's kind of struggling with the depth right now, and kind of falling out of the rotation a little bit, but is still such an impactful defender and has such a bright future. And Asa Newell, who we haven't even seen a whole lot this year, but in the limited minutes he has gotten, has been absolutely incredible and looking like someone who's going to be a major part of the rotation moving forward. Not just this season, but down the line. And so Atlanta's young core looks great. And then if you can add like one or two guys from this upcoming draft class that just can be those the missing piece, because Atlanta might be adding their missing piece in the offseason, not through free agency, but through the draft. This core already looks super promising, but it's going to just continue to look more and more promising, as we get closer. So now, let's go ahead and wrap up with tonight's matchup, Hawks versus Cavs at State Farm Arena. So the Hawks are back home. They were just away real quick, but they're back home. They played the Hornets at home, and then, they traveled out just to take on the, oh my God, who did we just get killed by? Oh, the Wizards. That was such a bad game. Hopefully they can bounce back tonight. So if you look at just specifically the Cavs, though, this is the second time these teams have matched up this season. I mean, Cleveland did take the first one, 117-109, and so the Cavs battled injuries, and so have the Hawks, really. But I mean, really in recent times, the Cavs have definitely been dealing with a little more injuries than the Hawks have. If you obviously consider that Trae Young is just out for a long period of time, but they're still very dangerous. This is still a team that has really stepped up. Just really kind of it's a team that's still very dangerous. They're still among the best in the NBA, and then specifically in the Eastern Conference. Donovan Mitchell is kind of quietly having the best season of his career. He's averaging 30 points a game on great efficiency and really just leading Cleveland, showing that he can be a number one option. And Evan Mobley is putting up that super consistent 18-8 that he has put up his entire career. I mean, actually, let me chill. I'm kind of I was about to talk a little bit crazy and say that he hasn't shown a whole lot of growth since entering the NBA. Is that crazy? Is that crazy to kind of say and kind of believe? Because I don't know. He's very reliable for that 18-8, but not much more. And somehow he won Defensive Player of the Year over Dyson Daniels last year. I still don't understand it. But that happened. But yeah, I mean, the Cavs tonight, they have several players that are going to be listed as day-to-day. At the time of this recording, we've got no further news on the injury report, but I mean, DeAndre Hunter is expected to return for the Cavs. They've had several players kind of emerge as rotation bright spots in the absence of some of their high-end players that are more well-known across the league. And so this has kind of been a testament. Their depth is really standing out. Y'all know what the Hawks are coming off of. That really, really disappointing 20-point loss to the Washington Wizards, where they were really down by 30 all night, and so they got some garbage time buckets to make the score look a little bit better, but it was an absolute blowout. They got destroyed. The Wizards were a team that were on a 14-game losing streak entering the matchup. But nonetheless, though, Atlanta remains 9-5 over their last 14. They've won 7 of their last 10, so still in a very good spot. But that loss was kind of a wake-up call. That loss really sucked. Trae Young is still obviously out due to that sprained MCL, but they've had guys step up in his absence, and they haven't always needed him. They certainly needed him against the Wizards, and it's looking more and more, by the day, it's looking like we need him much more than most expected. But Jalen's kind of taken over as that team leader for at least the time being. I mean, he's averaging 21.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, and 7 assists. Those numbers were looking a whole lot better, and then he had that pretty poor game against the Wizards, which kind of really brought down his averages. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker continues his best season yet. He's averaging 18.5 points, and he already has 7 20-plus point games. So that is just, his offensive leap has been ridiculous. The message from the locker room, though, after the Wizards loss was clear. I mean, flush it and move on. I mean, Mo Gay kind of emphasized the team's defensive identity, and Dyson Daniels really kind of echoed the need to learn quickly, but not dwell on the result, because the NBA moves fast. fast. There's a lot of moving parts, and this is kind of a thing where you have to adapt to. Bad losses happen to every single team in the NBA. The Hawks are no different, and so while it was disappointing, they have a great opportunity to bounce back against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference tonight at home. And so some of the keys to the game are going to be, can Atlanta contain Donovan Mitchell? This is a guy who's having the best season of his career so far. He's seriously on a hot streak, and so Atlanta kind of has to contain him if they want a chance to win. Will the Hawks get more consistent perimeter shooting, especially from Daniels? Hopefully he can kind of hit one again and then just keep seeing the ball go in the basket, keep seeing that percentage improve. It's bound to happen, but hopefully it continues tonight because that would be great for his confidence. Can Jalen Johnson continue dictating the offense at an all-NBA level? I don't know. I don't know how sustainable this is, and this is a great opportunity for him to show it. Because Cleveland has some tough defenders, so if he can kind of keep up this awesome play, Atlanta seems to be in good shape. Will Nas' scoring surge continue, and can Atlanta control the boards without, a lot of this pace creation that has seriously been dipping in recent days? So this game is really an opportunity to put out a statement and kind of make it known that the Hawks are here to stay. Atlanta matched up really well against Cleveland last year. As we all know, they really kind of beat them up, and this is another NBA Cup game. This is actually the last game of group play, and the Hawks, while they can't really compete for that last, for one of those wild card spots in the Cup, they have a great opportunity to kind of, like I said, make a statement today. After dropping to one of the league's worst teams, the Hawks, they need to respond, and they have a great opportunity tonight. So to recap, we covered Dyson Daniels' shooting slump and why it is starting to turn, and hopefully it can continue on that trend. The Bucks struggling and boosting Atlanta's draft hopes, and not just the Pelicans struggling, but the Bucks struggling and just landing us a top pick in the draft. That would be so awesome. We've talked about who the Hawks might target if they land in that top 3 with either the Bucks pick or the Pelicans pick. Cam Boozer would be pretty awesome. And we talked about what to specifically watch for in tonight's matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be putting out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on Dyson kind of getting his 3 ball together, slowly but surely? What are your thoughts on the Bucks and their struggles? What are your thoughts on potentially getting Cam Boozer with the number 2 pick? I think that would be incredible. And what are your thoughts on the matchup tonight? What are your expectations? Do you think Atlanta can put out a statement win and really kind of get the momentum and really just kind of the vibes and the chemistry all together heading into an important, tough stretch of the season? So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and I will see you guys next time.